What's up, guys? Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs. Why do you look at me like that every time I open it up? What is wrong with you?
I'm just looking at you.
Why? Don't look at me.
Because you are talking.
Don't look at me.
You're talking. Am I not supposed to look at you talk?
No. Makes me nervous. We're just going to podcast like this. Alex has his hand over his eyes. Yeah, that's perfect, actually.
We're the Youngs. I can't see shit.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs.
You already said that.
I didn't say with the Youngs part because you made me nervous.
I just look at you.
I know. You made me nervous.
We've done almost 100 of these.
It's not that. It's just you look at me and I get all nervy.
And that means we've done more than that because we've scrapped a couple.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get nervous still?
Because, I don't know.
You still get nervous at weddings?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Then okay.
What's that saying about, like, artists? Like, if they're not nervous going on stage, like, there's something wrong or, like, what is it? There's something about that.
I'm not always nervous going on stage. I'm confident in the parts I'm playing. I just go out there and have fun. My brain is just kind of
I think if there's, like, we've talked
nothingness.
about this before. If there's, like, not a little bit of nerves, like, when you're doing something that, like, you enjoy, then
there's not enough pressure.
There's one, not enough pressure, or two, you don't care that much. Like, if you care about it, you're nervous.
For weddings, for sure. If you're not nervous, a little bit nervous, you can be confident and still nervous.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't say you couldn't.
But, like, yeah, I guess nervous to...
Also, my friend Kristen, we were talking about this the other day, she described it perfectly. Like, walking into a wedding day is like walking into, like, on the first day of school. It's always so nerve-wracking.
Like the first day at a new school. Or the first day of school in general.
In general.
I don't know if
whether
just
it's
in general.
new
I think
or
at
not.
a new school. Because, like, in high school, by the time I was a junior and a senior...
Okay, but you're like 103. So...
This doesn't change the fact when I was a junior or senior. I was 16, 17, 18 years old. 17, 16 years old.
I'm just kidding. You're not 103.
You were 16, 17 years old when you went to high school, too.
I know.
So when I walked in...
times were different back then.
No, they're not. In that aspect, they're not.
I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you shit.
But, I mean, I was definitely nervous, like, my freshman year going into a brand new building.
See, maybe it's
and
just...
I was the new low man on the totem pole.
Okay, maybe it's just different from person to person because for me, the first day of school, every year, I was nervous walking in to the classroom.
But see...
I also have social anxiety, so there's that.
You also had... You generally know who is in your classes, especially now because of social media.
It doesn't matter. Like, you walk in, everybody freaking looks at you. Like, But
by the time you're a junior or senior, like, in the same school building, you know
yeah,
most of the
senior
people...
year, I was like, I don't care. But, like...
That's not the point. Not the I don't care part. It's the you already know most of these people. So what are they going to... What's the point? I mean, why are you nervous?
I don't know. I mean, I still was. That's just... Maybe it's a me thing. It's not just a me thing because Kristen agreed with me.
At school, though. Like, a new school. I agree.
Okay.
But if you've been comfortable in that school for a couple of years, then I don't think it's...
I don't know. For me, walking in, like, to the bridesmaids on the wedding day is always, like, everybody turns and looks at you.
That's like going to a new school because it's a lot of people you don't necessarily know.
And you have to be, like, outgoing, and you can't just, like, be quiet, like, quietly just, like, come in and, like, do your job. You have, hi, guys, good morning.
Oh, I make an entrance.
Everybody looks good. You have to explain what you're doing for the people listening.
I forget what he was saying when you did that for the first time.
What is he talking about?
I have to go figure that out. I don't know. You'll have to go.
I don't know.
If you're not on YouTube, go on
favorites.
YouTube and watch the action that I'm doing at this point in time.
Yeah. Crystal is one of our
explain.
favorites. We do a lot of his mannerisms.
Because we watch his stand-ups a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're hilarious.
They are hilarious. We can quote almost all of them now. They're funny.
Anyway. We're not talking about nervousness at a wedding day.
No. We are talking about second shooters and assistants today.
Assistants to
the regional main photographer.
Regional.
No, just assistants and second shooters.
Assistants.
And for those who get major ick with second shooter, second photographers and assistants. two different things.
Second videographer, second cinematographer,
Wow.
the second filmmaker,
Mm-hmm.
the second person holding a camera in their hands.
Yeah. So, I think some people might like, do not disturb. Thank you.
Sorry.
Let me check my messages too while we're at it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a person filming stuff for me today
Okay.
for a video I
Our
have
second
to
cinematographer.
do. Yeah. But he's the main cinematographer at this point because he's getting the shots that I need that I'm doing while I'm doing this.
Anyway, so some people might like view it differently. I don't know, truly. I feel like we have like a philosophy with our second photo video and our like assistants. We view them as two different roles and they have different responsibilities and they each serve a different purpose.
Depending on whether they're a shooter. I'm just going to say shooter. Look, you know what I'm talking about. This is a photo video podcast.
Yeah.
If I say shooter, I'm not talking about a gun.
Is YouTube going to like flag us for violence?
No.
Okay.
It's a PC thing to stop saying second shooter or shooting a wedding.
What's PC?
Politically correct.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which I generally agree with, but it's going to get way too convoluted to try to not say that because it's such so ingrained.
I just like say seconds. Like I don't even add on shooter.
All right, well then we'll just say our seconds.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I will say to add on to that like very random tidbit, I think that term obviously is very well known in this industry because even our clients call them that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because they heard it from me.
Yeah.
Because when I am talking to clients, I don't say shooter purposefully. So, and once they say second shooter, then I'm like, oh, well, second shooter. Okay, anyway.
What were we saying? Oh, so like either they're shooting photo or video or they're assisting. And if the main difference, assistants aren't operating a camera.
Yeah.
Period. The most they'll do as far as recording or taking photos is on our cell phone, getting behind the scenes stuff for social media.
Or for us, particularly.
That's what I mean, for us.
Well, I know, but us also particularly, they don't run a camera, but they will monitor them for us. And I think depending on who our assistant is, what the wedding day looks like, etc., we will make sure that they know how to do minimal things on the camera, like make sure it's still in focus and refocus if it's not, if it's on a tripod, that sort of thing.
And like they have minimal, like they can carry stuff, they can do minimal setup stuff, like putting a light stand up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we rarely use just assistants because we typically have a team of 4 with us.
Right.
Already.
There are some wedding days where I feel like I could benefit from an assistant, especially when we have weddings that are kind of like spread out and it's like, hey, we need our gear moved from here to here to here. It would be helpful because we're busy, our seconds are busy. So that type of thing would be helpful. But other than that, I think at least for us personally and then in the way that we do business, that's what an assistant means to us. It's just literally helping us with whatever we might need throughout the day that our second photo video team can't help with.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, what is our philosophy on second photo video, like the roles and responsibility? So
I'll start with saying, in general, I see a lot of times when this topic comes up on Facebook groups and stuff that, man, my throat. A lot of times people will be looking for a second. This isn't all the time, but they're in the conversation. Someone would be like, I just need somebody to hold a camera and get shots because realistically, I could probably do the whole wedding without using their shots.
Yeah, I figured that was what you were going to say.
But I don't like that philosophy because you're essentially selling a second shooter to the client as just a body, but they're not actually serving a major role. My philosophy and a lot of other philosophies, the philosophy of a lot of other people that I see that are higher up in the industry, you need to be experienced, not only with the role you're taking on, but also in the event space where you're working and what level of the event space. So like
Yeah,
a
definitely.
luxury event, I'm not going to hire somebody who's never done a luxury event
Right.
because it's a completely different world and there's a completely different set of challenges that you might encounter that we all need to be ready for on our own time, because there will be parts of the day where we're split up
Right.
and we send our seconds or sometimes thirds
Yeah.
to go get details. And if they're not accustomed to the luxury space,
Yeah.
they're going to fall on their face and it's going to look bad on our business.
Yeah, I feel like, at least for me, like in the beginning of my career, having a second photographer was just kind of like a standard. I feel like it probably, like it definitely still is a standard, I think, for most like companies, just to have a second photographer. And when I was starting out, I will admit that like I did feel that way. Like there was a point where I was just like, I can do this by myself because these are very low key, low pressure wedding days. So I do just like need
And
a
we
body.
do occasionally have days like that
Yeah.
that we could feasibly do ourselves.
Yeah.
But the point is to have a second person there. Jeez.
Yeah. Can I finish my thought? Because you
Yeah.
interrupted me. So in the beginning, like I said, I did have that feeling of like, we just need a second photographer because it's in the contract. It helps that like, obviously they'll be there. So in case I need them to get a different angle or go shoot something while I'm busy, like that's fine. But most of the time, I would say in like the first 1 to 3 years of me doing weddings, it didn't feel necessary, but it was fine having them there. I will say now, with almost doing this for 10 years at the level of like events that we do, it's 100%.
The levels of the events we do now. We
Yeah.
haven't done this level of events for 10 years.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's 100% necessary for me to have a second photographer. Most of the time, there's like no way that I would be able to capture these events the way that they deserved and that way that they need to be captured on my own.
There was just no way.
Yeah,
What's that from?
I don't know.
Probably Family Guy. I don't know.
But with that being said, like you just mentioned, our philosophy, and because we're in a different stage of our career, we have to have a team assisting us that basically knows their shit. Like if I was not able, God forbid, to show up for a day, I would feel 100% confident that my second photographer can take over and lead the day and do just as good as I can.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we hire seconds.
We hire
That
lead
have-
photographers that can second for us.
Yeah, because we need to make sure that they are fully capable of taking the lead when they need to, and not just in a situation where, God forbid, we're not able to do the job, but for what I said earlier is if they split up from us.
Yeah.
Because if they're doing something else, guess what? They're now the lead in this situation.
Yeah. Even something like, so I'll mention this because this happens probably every wedding. My second photographer will capture cocktail hour for me. And we talked about this on our last podcast. I don't know when we talked about cocktail hour and like showing guests. When did we talk about that?
I don't remember, but it was
We
one of
just
the more
talked
recent
about
ones.
But
Usually I know these things.
something as quote unquote minuscule as cocktail hour has to be captured a certain way, at least like in my perspective.
Just it has to be captured in the way that matches our brand.
Yeah. And so making sure that you have a photographer that is even going over and capturing something as simple as cocktail hour, it's just done the right way. So, and we are split up a lot on the wedding day. Definitely.
Well, not you and I, but
Yeah.
our seconds.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, we were going to talk about the benefits of each of them. I feel like we've kind of already talked about that.
What do you mean the benefits?
Like the benefits of having them.
Of a second?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, and like this is, I want to hear your thoughts too, obviously, but like I have second for a lot of photographers before, and as a second photographer, I sometimes see things that I feel like could be a really good shot or like really creative. But sometimes if I don't know the photographer well enough, I don't know if I should speak up and like let the lead know like, hey, this is good, or do you want to do this type of thing? Like sometimes you just have to kind of like figure out, what their vibe is and if they want that type of input. Personally, when I'm the lead, I want the input from my photographer, because sometimes I am just like going so quickly that I might forget something, or I might forget like a standard pose or something like that. Or I need them to remind me of something because there's just so many things going on in my brain that the second photographer can remind me of. And I personally love that. What do you think?
I like that. I'm like, for video, Jaren has basically been our go-to second for
like 3 years.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is year 4. This is year 4.
Wow.
Yeah. And his brother Jake was before that. We've talked about them before.
Yeah.
Jaren was on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I made it clear to him, like, if you see something, say it. I mean, this is
if you
different.
See something, say something. Come on and party tonight.
The man's got hooks.
The man's got hooks. He's got good hooks.
Anyway.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference for those who don't know. And if you don't know, why are you a fan of this podcast? I'm just saying.
Go watch the show and then come back.
Just kidding.
No, but like Jaren knows that he can speak up and interject if he sees something that I'm not seeing, or if he gets a good idea.
Yeah.
Because this is another part about seconds, and we can touch on this specific topic, on a different podcast, and that's the creative mind versus a business mind.
Mm-hmm.
And as a creative business owner, you have to be able to do both. But as a second videographer or a second photographer,
there's more room.
You can go into the day and just be a creative because the business owner is taking care of the business side.
Yeah.
So where we're capturing what we need to capture, we're also thinking about the timeline and what the next steps are and the business side of everything as far as the rest of the day goes, where the seconds can be in the moment.
Yeah. Which I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I feel that like so hard, and I very, 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 very rarely second for other photographers.
We don't have time.
Because we don't have time. It's not because I don't want to. I will say sometimes I don't want to because my lack of time. I don't want to go and work on a wedding like on a Saturday that I would typically have off.
And we get asked a lot when we already have weddings. Like this weekend, we were asked to come to Nashville to second. But
when I do say yes, though, I really enjoy my time. And it's because of what you just said. The pressure, I mean, depending on the event, there is pressure for the second photographer, because there are points in the day where you are the lead. Like it's your wedding in certain parts of the day, and it's your responsibility to capture certain things. And there is certain pressures with that. But most of the time, like during portrait hour or whatever the case might be, if you're with the whole team, you just can be creative. And I feel like sometimes that is just so necessary, like because we just don't get that very often.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm shooting as the lead, what I'm doing, and we've talked about this on here before, like several episodes ago, what I'm doing, I don't know how it works in my brain. I'm doing it, but I'm already in my head like 10 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to be super creative all the time.
I mean, you have your moments where you get like into a rhythm and you get super creative. I mean, that just happens.
Definitely. But when I'm a second and the pressure is just lowered a little bit, it allows my creativity to build up. And so just a little tip here, if you are feeling like you're in a creative rut, maybe pick up a job. Even if you're like, oh, I could have this freaking day off, maybe just like pick up a job and like see what happens. See if the creative juices get flowing again, and they'll help you on your next event.
I will say because we do a lot of photo and video, but we also do photo or video only.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's photo only, I'm the second.
Mm-hmm.
When it's video only, you're the second. When I'm able to
Sometimes we still bring Jaren because I'm like,
We did that once.
We've done it more than once.
Just because he just said.
I'm not technical. With video, I'm not like technically savvy.
You mean for video?
Yeah.
Well, for photo, because he had mentioned that he'd love to try to second shoot a wedding, so we both came and they had 3 photographers.
No, when we have video only and
Yeah.
you want me to second, I'm like, maybe let's get Jaron because he can help you with all the technical stuff like audio and miking people
Well,
that like
yeah.
I don't want that
and
responsibility.
setting up lighting.
But
and all
if
that
you
stuff.
need the money shot, like put the camera in my hand, I can get the money shot.
Because you can just focus on playing with the camera. Basically, you're playing with the camera.
Yeah,
Like,
I freaking love video.
I
love video.
My tips to second shooters, second photographers, second videographers, is get what the lead needs you to get, but don't be afraid to get weird.
Definitely.
Because when I'm seconding for Veronica doing photo, that's when I'm starting to just like, I turn autofocus off because on photo, autofocus just makes life easy. Turn off autofocus. I play with soft focus image shots. I'll literally do things that probably won't turn out most of the time, but
yeah.
a lot of times I'll get that money shot and it's an awesome shot.
Literally this weekend, my second photographer, so this weekend's wedding had like these string lights across the whole ceiling. It was pretty cool, very romantic. And so it was also over the dance floor. And so she actually did double exposure and she was showing it to me, which double exposure, I feel like there's a time and a place. It's a little old school, but like if you do it right, it can be pretty epic.
Yeah.
And it can be really cool too. So, but typically that like isn't my vibe, to be honest. But because she's my second photographer, it was a low key wedding day on Saturday. She was showing me, she was like, I did some of these double exposure. I don't know if I really love them, but just ignore them when you're calling. And she showed me on the back of her camera and I was like, Autumn, these are dope. Like, what?
Yeah.
Because it was the string lights on the top and then the string lights on the bottom from the double exposure and just all the people in the middle. I was like, this looks sick. Like, I would never probably have thought to do that because I'm too busy just capturing the dance floor. So I think that, I don't know where we're going with this now, but
the ability to get creative as a second.
yeah. So that's always
To
fun.
get more creative.
Yeah.
Like, and to experiment.
Right.
Like, as long as you are getting, like I said, what the lead wants you to get and what's required for what you're brought in to do.
Yeah.
It's a great time to just literally get in and experiment.
Yeah.
Because in the creative field, there is no real, true right or wrong. There are things that are better to do than others that aren't necessarily right, but they are also right at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But it's also a good time to break those rules.
So let's talk about like some of the negatives.
For seconds?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
So like
how a second can mess up, like can look bad or something?
Yeah. One thing that I did like want to mention is, again, like where we're at with the types of weddings that we have. It's really hard for me to find like a second photographer these days that is available, for one, and that I can trust. Like, I have a set of people that I continue to cycle through because I trust them, I know them, I've worked with them. But when all of those people aren't available, I have to resort to finding someone I don't know, and that makes me so nervous because I have to make sure that they are good enough to get possibly all the groom stuff. And if I don't have a chance or the time on the wedding day to get any of that, like, I just have to put all of my trust in them and know that they're going to hopefully do a good job.
But it's not even just about doing the job as a photographer or as a videographer, but also doing the job as a person and that is representing another business.
That's what I was going to say too, yeah.
So like going into the groom's the grooms or the other part of the
Are they
going to
have like a similar vibe as us and like set the tone right, like that type of thing?
Yeah. And like being able to read the room and the personalities.
Yeah.
Because if you have somebody that is very introverted and super nervous and doesn't like the attention versus somebody who is the exact opposite, and we've had both polar opposite grooms specifically in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
End
It doesn't matter.
of last year, beginning of this year-ish.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You have to treat those situations differently. And if the seconds are the only ones there in the morning.
And touching on that a little bit, like for those who are listening, when we do have like a client that is sensitive in one way or the other, we always, like when we're sending out the timeline, because we get the timeline from the planner and then we take like the most important parts, condense it and give it to our team so they don't have like a 30-page document to look through. We also prep them on the personalities of the clients. We tell them, obviously, if there's anything that needs to be noted, like a parent that's passed away or any sensitive issues for the family or the wedding day or anything like that, we give them the whole rundown, but we still don't know if they're going to approach it. Let me say this. If it's somebody we haven't worked with before or we just don't know very well, we still don't know if they're going to approach it with the same tone that we would.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so nerve-wracking because not to like toot our own horn, toot, but like we are very good at reading the room. We are very good at reading people and
adjusting the approach based on what we learn.
Yeah, and knowing how people are feeling in the moment and just kind of going with the flow when it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Some people aren't as good as we are as just like
knowing when to stop talking.
Yeah. Like I just did. Did you see the train of thought leave my brain? It was like, I'm out. Okay.
Basically, if somebody in the bridal party is super nervous,
yeah,
and they don't like the attention on themselves, just let them have their moment to compose themselves. Don't try to hype them up because that's putting more attention on them.
Right. And we've had that before.
Mm-hmm.
Which, they have good intentions. They're trying to be like, they're trying to help make them feel better, help them make them feel comfortable. But sometimes, like, you just need to remain silent.
Like you need to match the energy.
And that's good. Yeah, just like match the energy.
Depending on the energy. If it's a perpetually negative energy, you need to like change the energy with the energy.
Yes.
But in this situation, like, read the room. It's just a matter of read the room and know how to approach various different situations.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that type of I don't want to say skill set, but that type of quality is almost better and ranked higher in necessities than
getting the shots,
in my opinion, especially as you raise in the industry.
Yeah, and the reason for that, tell me if I'm wrong, is because people will remember the way that they felt in that moment. And if it's paired with a good feeling, then they're more likely to like the image.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't like how they felt in that moment and they see the image, whether it's good or not, there's a chance that they just won't like it.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
It's a psychological thing. Because the whole point is to bring you back to that moment.
Yeah.
But if bringing you back to that moment brings up a negative experience, then it's just going to be a negative image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're obviously the biggest we're the leads and it's our business. So we're like, it's our image that is
being represented
there. But
so you have to hire people who will represent you and your business well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be able to do that with the energies in the room.
Yeah. Another thing for us personally, like when we're looking for people to be on our team, is we need problem solvers, not people who are going to be like, oh, just ask Alex and Veronica. Mm-hmm. Like, because sometimes you can't ask us. Like, you're here because you also have a responsibility, and you might just need to be a problem solver and a team player. Like, you can't just like be like, oh, let me ask Veronica. Okay, now sometimes there are things that like, yes, please come and ask me, but I would like to think that the person that I hired, I trust to know and differentiate between those two moments.
Yeah. Like, you need to be able to be a problem solver, like you said, and make the decisions. Because sometimes we're not going to be there. Mm-hmm. If you're getting detail shots of the room and we're still with the couple at the park or whatever, where we're doing photos, and something needs to be answered right now, just make the decision. And if we need to adjust when we get there, we can. But
yeah, definitely.
You can't just wait or try to get a hold of us and then hold up progress, because sometimes these timelines are too tight to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What else you got on your list?
One of the positive things that we haven't talked about yet is when you do choose the right people. And, sometimes if they're starting with the guys and you don't start with the guys on that day, when they just absolutely nail it with the vibes and the photos, and because we've had this happen multiple times, when we get a review back, they're like, oh my God, Amber and Jaron were just so amazing. Like they were just so sweet and so nice. And that is just a positive reflection on us. And obviously them too, but like it makes us look good, and that's super important.
Who was the second on, what wedding was it? I don't remember who it was. It was at Haw Valley. It was the one, I did the Fresh and Clean reel.
It was Dylan.
Oh, it was Dylan. Okay, so yeah.
How did you forget?
I couldn't remember.
Dylan's going to be listening to this and be like, man,
I know
we ain't friends anymore.
Dylan doesn't second for us very often. He usually just jumps in an emergency if I need him to.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember if that one was him or if the other one that was at Haw Valley was him.
Dude, Dylan and the groom became like best freaking friends.
Yeah. It was almost like, it was one of those things that almost was like, I'm kind of jealous because like it's my company and it's our couple, but y'all are hitting it off. But like, it got to the point he kept looking at Dylan's camera and like winking, and
oh God,
it was so good.
That was like Isaac.
Jessica and Isaac. That's right.
He is like one of my favorite grooms we've ever had, I think.
Yeah.
He was so fun.
That was great. And that sets the tone for the day. Like somebody
Side note, hold on. Let me just put this in here. I've been seeing a lot, this is very random, so I apologize. I've been seeing a lot on Instagram about capturing authentic moments, and like in how clients, they want quote unpost images, they want authentic moments captured, and we go into these sessions and these weddings and we're posing them and things like that, and sometimes you have to give little direction, but like also the conversation around this is that if your client listening to this podcast, this is really important. If you're wanting a documentary style, like photo or wedding or photographer, us as the photographers and videographers, we can help usher in moments.
We can set it up.
And we can set it up. But honestly, guys, it is up to you to make those moments happen. If you saw a photo on Instagram or Pinterest where you guys are sitting at the table and you guys are like, your head's leaning on his shoulder or whatever the case might be, I'm not necessarily going to come up to you and tell you to do that. You just have to know that those are the moments that you want captured. And if you do it and you trust your team, they're going to get the shot. So the reason why I say that is because I feel like the personality of the couples on the wedding day, if you're wanting a certain vibe captured, you have to usher that in yourself. Like, we can't always do that for you 100%. We can do it for you a little bit, but you have to do it. And Isaac did that.
Yeah.
Isaac did that. They are a fun couple. They knew that they wanted a certain vibe. So Isaac literally flirted with that camera all day. And all day. And it made it so much fun. I mean, even during like important moments, like cutting the cake, they were cutting the cake, he was ignoring us, but then he would like look up at Dylan and like wink and then go back to cutting the cake. Like, it was just so funny, and it made their film absolutely amazing.
Or like they're walking and he did the finger guns.
Yeah,
to the camera.
And it's
to
not
the other camera, not to the main camera.
And like, I get it. If you're like, okay, that's not my personality, blah, blah, blah. Like, just figure out what is and what fits the tone for you guys and adjust accordingly. Obviously, like, he is a little bit more goofy, but does he do stuff like this on like a daily basis? No. Like, because he doesn't have a camera in his face on a daily basis, but he took advantage of it.
And he ate it up.
And it was really fun. I think that was a random tidbit.
I think what you just said is important. Like, and it's not really about seconds at all, but if a couple wants that organic journalistic style, but they're not like that naturally, it's not going to come off as natural.
Yeah.
And I would argue you may like that style, but it's not necessarily for you.
Yeah.
You need to find a style
that is for you
and that shows your personality better.
Yeah.
Like, when we get photos done, we don't look for somebody that is our same style.
No.
We look for somebody completely different because that's us.
Yeah. We look for a style that, as far as like the experience, it's the same. Like the way that they make us feel in front of the camera. But honestly, I think like it just kind of depends because I feel like we need a different type of direction personally, the two of us, than what I would give to my client.
Yeah.
Which that's very interesting to think about. So, but sorry, that was really random.
But
I
also,
just thought about that.
Also, another takeaway from what you just said on that whole thing really isn't about seconds either. But if you want the style like that, you can't be given a pose as a couple, take the prompt, and then immediately look up at the camera waiting for the next thing.
Oh, that is your like biggest pet peeve.
I mean, I understand that people are uncomfortable behind the camera, and that's just their personality.
They break.
And they break, and then they look at the camera to wait for the next thing.
And what that looks like is like, okay, guys, go ahead, look at each other, lean in for a kiss. They do that, and then they immediately like separate and look at the camera. A lot of the times, the moments that we're really anticipating happen before or after, and not even during what we're telling you to do. And I feel like a lot of people kind of miss that. I just posted, we're really getting off on a tangent here, but that's all right, I guess. I just posted an engagement session this week that I absolutely loved. And the reason why I loved it is because the couple just like really trusted me and they were down for anything. I posed them the way that I typically would pose any couple that I have. But the more we got into the session, the more I realized, okay, they're willing to basically be goofy and just do anything. Like they weren't worried necessarily about like they weren't critically like worried about how they look. Which I'm going to make sure that you guys look great. So I gave them like, I was like, I tell all of my clients, I will tell you exactly what to do, but there will be times where I will give you less direction because I want to see what you're going to do. And that's for your benefit, not mine.
Right.
And so there was one point in the session where I was like, okay, guys, they had their dog. I was like, I'm going to have you go out into the field and just play around, have fun. And they were like, well, what do you want us to do? And I was like, let's just think about Little House on the Prairie vibes. And they were like, okay, got it. And like, they just started running around in circles with their dogs. It's probably one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. Like,
and that's where it comes in. You
it's
need to be
so
able,
much fun.
You need to be able to prompt the couples that are wanting that, but don't really know what to do and how to do that.
Yeah.
So like if you're doing the session and then they go in for the kiss and then they stop and look right at you after every prompt, you need to change your prompts.
Yeah. Figure out
to make them more open-ended, so that it's not a definitive, okay, that's what they told us to do. Okay, now what do they want us to do next? Yeah,
definitely. Anyway, sorry, y'all.
Seconds should be able to do that too.
Good transition. Yeah, they honestly, because sometimes there have been wedding days where I feel really overwhelmed and I'm like, can you just go ahead and pose? I've literally done that. I'm like, can you pose them for the next couple set? I need to step back. Like, and
it's not even just overwhelmed. Sometimes like we run out of ideas and
I'll turn around and be like, what else?
Or
what else you got?
Or like you have to change cards or something's like there's moments where we have to pull away and instead of stopping everything, the seconds can step in and keep things flowing.
Yeah, I've definitely had that before where like I fill up a card and I'm like, hey, can you keep them going because we're like short on time or whatever while I switch my cards, and they have to be able to do that.
Yep.
So that also, finding someone, actually, let me just ask you this. Do you think that it's important to 100% of the time have a second photo or video person on your team that has a similar style to you? Or do you think that, like, what do you think about that?
They need to be able to shoot your style. I don't think they need to necessarily have a similar style.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I say...
it really comes down to, like, exposing and color correct. And in general, I think most people take the photographs based on how it actually looks, and then their style comes out in the editing. However, there are some styles that, like, in an indoor shot, you expose for the highlights so you get more window and it's kind of a darker, moodier look.
Yeah.
Or you expose, or you kind of overexpose a little bit to blow out the highlights a little bit in certain styles, or you you lean warm on white balance
Yeah.
because of your style. Those situations, yes, those people need to be able to shoot your style, even if it's not their style.
I 100% agree. I think that there's points in the day, if you have a very like particular way of shooting things straight out of camera, again, I'm going back to cocktail hour because I'm very stylistic with my cocktail hour shots. So I need to make sure that the photographer that I have knows what my expectations are in capturing things like that. Like, I know this sounds so silly, and this is just going to be like my whole personality, I feel like, at this point. But if I don't have a photo of someone picking up like a hors d'oeuvre in the right way, or holding a glass of wine or a glass of champagne, I'll be devastated if I don't have that shot, because it's just something that I always have.
Yeah.
And it's part of like how I capture the day. As far as like a stylistic choice, I do a lot of slow shutter things with people walking around the room and things like that. So like, I feel like that is something that I would expect my photographer to get and hope that they would get. If they don't, I guess it's like not the end of the world. And then the last thing that I'll say about this is if we're split up and they're only capturing like groomsmen, then that is very important to make sure that they're shooting it in a way that I would.
Yeah. Like positioning them in the right spot.
And using the right lenses. Like because I shoot with a 50 all day, and especially for things like that, for portraits, I'm going to use a 50.
Your photographer needs to take that 24-70 off.
Yeah, literally, I was about to say, if they're shooting it with a 24-70 and they're at 24, like, that's trash for me. Like, well, sorry, I know that's a hot take, guys, but that's a no for me.
Even outside of that, simple fact of if they're even shooting 50 on the 24-70, they're shooting at 2.8 because that's as low as that goes.
Yeah, and that's not going to work for me.
And that's not going to work for you either because it's going to look different because you're typically shooting about 1.8.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I do have like someone new that I'm working with, I'm like the least bossy person ever, honestly. Like, truly, guys, I'm like not bossy. So I feel bad being like, hey, here's my preferred aperture, here's my preferred lens, shoot this on this, shoot this way. I feel so bad doing that, but like that is just the business person part where I have to be okay with doing that.
Well, yeah,
and it's just like you have to know, and
these people you're hiring are representing your company.
Yeah.
Not only in that way, but like in all encompassing.
Yeah.
Down to the way they dress, the way they present themselves. The fact that they're not going around talking about the fact that they're also have their own company.
Right.
Like, that's a big no-no. You don't get hired as a second to promote yourself. You don't get hired as a second to post stories on your Instagram to make it look like it's your wedding.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You don't get, I mean, in most cases, you don't get hired to use any of the content you're getting.
Right.
Because it's not yours.
Yeah.
And the higher you get in the industry, the more that is like, what's the word I'm looking for? Enforced.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you go in second for one of the top luxury people, there's 100% zero way you will ever be able to use those photos or that video.
Can't say that, but the chances are a lot higher that you won't be able to.
I would say at the top of the industry that
you never know. You literally never know. You can't speak
at the end of the day, it
people.
comes down to the lead. But I would say that 99% of the time, you're not going to be able to use that stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can just get lazy.
I was going to say, on that note, if you are a cinematographer or you're a new photographer, videographer looking to pick up jobs, don't go into the wedding day selfishly. Like, if you are a second on that day, go into it with the assistive mindset, but in knowing that you have a job to do. Don't be like, I have to get this shot because I know that I can use 3 images on my Instagram. Don't do that. That's icky. And they'll pick up on that. Mm-hmm. Don't go into it with the selfish mindset that you want to get the shots that you want to get just because you might be able to share 2 images. Like, just do a good freaking job.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like,
and have a good attitude.
If you nail it as a second,
Yeah.
Like across the board, you present yourself super well, you dress the part, you are a team player across the board, not with just the photo or video teams. And everybody sees it. All the other vendors see it. The planners see it. If they come to the lead and say, hey, we want to pitch you for this wedding. Are you available? And they say, no.
But my second is,
you might get that job because of how good you did because that planner remembers you.
Yeah, exactly.
We've gotten several times that planners that want to bring in somebody to get details reach out and say, hey, is Jaron available for this?
Yeah.
I know you guys have a wedding.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have a wedding, whatever. Like,
right.
Jaron's gotten work because he's such a good second with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's not going around promoting himself.
No. For sure not. Any last words?
Any last words?
No, I don't know. I feel like this was a good conversation. There's definitely more that could be talked about, I think.
I think it's a good spot to end on.
Okay, go ahead.
And I think it is far undervalued in our industry. Your seconds need to be signing contracts. I think too many photographers and videographers they just, oh, I'll let you second for me. We're good. I'll pay you this. And it's just verbal and that's it. But
dude, you never know what's going to happen.
That opens up so many things for your business that would potentially make you liable for things.
You just never know.
You need to be able to outline exactly what their roles are, if they're able to use images or video or not, all the things relating to representing your business.
Because listen, like if someone, you might not think about it in this way, but if you have a second photographer and they are wilding out on that wedding day and they signed a contract with you, you have a signed document saying that they wouldn't do what they're doing and it protects your business.
Yes.
And they're a contractor, so then it falls back on them.
Well, it technically falls back on you.
Well, yeah.
But you can address that.
Yes.
You can address that because they have a contract and they know better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But as far as everything else, like the way they dress, for example, what happens to the cards? Who's responsible for the cards?
And having the rate in the contract of what you're paying in case they ask for more or something like that.
Or like they try to, basically at the end of the day, they're like, hey.
I know like a lot of us use our friends and we have friends that we second for each other and things like that. But we are always in the vein of just contracts protect us, but they also protect the person signing. So it's a mutual beneficial thing. And if you need a second shooter contract, we can put it in the link below. The Legal Paige has a really good one.
We'll put the link for all the second contracts directly to them for photo and video in the bio. And if you are interested in those, you can get 10% off if you use our discount code Youngs10 at checkout.
Yep, Youngs10.
So 10% off any Legal Paige contract template. The ones that we're referring to now will be in the description.
Yeah. I'm sure that there's things that like we missed on this and that we could talk about.
And when you buy them, you support the podcast.
Yeah.
So thanks for the support.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Like I said, I'm sure that there's things that we missed about this. Definitely more conversation to be had. Maybe, do we have any like horror stories with second photographers? I'm trying to think of anything.
Probably, but I don't want to get into that probably. Because they're probably not something I want to do. I want to bring back up. I'm sure it's happened.
I don't know if we've had like people bail last minute. And,
not
things like
anything
that.
like severe, like a second getting drunk at a wedding or anything like that.
No. I'm sure that there are some crazy stories out there, though.
We've had seconds that overstepped their
boundary.
Not boundary, but their authority.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, nothing major.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, that's seconds. We can talk more on seconds.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I thought this was pretty easy, fun topic to talk about. Sorry about our little tangent in the middle, but I still feel like that was really good conversation.
Kind of relevant, maybe.
We brought it back. It's fine. So, all right,
just
guys.
say seconds after everything.
Yeah, seconds.
Plated dinners, you don't get seconds. Buffets,
I was literally just thinking about
though,
food.
you can get seconds.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Buffets or plated dinners? Which one do you like as a vendor?
I want a plated meal.
Because they're usually better.
Buffets kind of give me the ick. Buffets at weddings are fine. Buffets in general, like I would never go to like a buffet restaurant.
Some buffets have been fire, like Errol and Ashley. They had freaking hot wings. They had hot wings on their buffet.
Okay, people are going to listen to me and be like, oh, Veronica's snotty. She doesn't like buffets. That's not what I'm saying. Buffets at weddings are fine. I guess when I thought about it, I went to like freaking like Ponderosa.
I said as a vendor.
I know. I don't know why I thought of it like that.
Ponderosa's not even a buffet. You're thinking of Golden Corral.
Golden Corral.
Or
literally
Hometown
could
Buffet,
not be
which
me.
I don't think even exists anymore.
No, I went there as a kid though.
Are there actually like legit buffets anymore? I mean, since COVID, I know they all basically shut down.
Yeah, your mom dragged me to a Ruby Tuesday like a few weeks ago, and they had a salad bar. I was not about to go and get salad.
A lot of places
from
have
that.
a salad bar.
No.
That Tacano's Brazilian place
It's
has
a germ
has
thing
a salad bar.
Yeah, no. It couldn't be me. It's a germ thing for me. I don't know. People breathing over the food, like that gives me the ick.
Uncle Lenny's has a salad bar over in Illinois. Where we used to meet my grandpa.
It does. That's like a very like hometown. Still, I will not. I will not. But typically now, since COVID, I think that they were doing it a little bit depending on the caterer before COVID. But I think since COVID, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is just based off of what I've seen with most buffets nowadays. There's the catering is serving it to you
at each spot.
Yeah, so it feels like a little bit like
I think a lot
better.
of them do that, and I think a lot of them still do that. But I think there's also a lot that just like this weekend.
I still want a plated meal.
Was just a regular buffet.
I still want a plated meal.
I think I just want a good meal.
Yeah. Period.
I don't want a dry steak.
Period. Period.
I don't want a dry steak at the end of a 9 hours of my 12-hour wedding day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip.
We gotta say subscribe to
YouTube
if you don't already.
I'm just trying to get out of here. I gotta pee.
Give us reviews on Apple because we still need those, and I want to like get those going more.
Okay. All right.
We're also.
Hold on. Just start it over.
If you are on YouTube, leave a comment about some of the things that you think is very important for second shooters, second photographers, second videographers. And a new thing that I've been doing, which I've had threads for a long time, and I was active at first, and then it kind of fell off, and getting back into it. So I've been very active on threads from the Feast or Famine account.
You are killing it on threads over on the Feast or Famine account. That's not me, y'all. If you see it, it's not me. It's Alex. He's killing it.
Threads is a really cool way to like just interact and have conversation, which I love that because I think it's even better than what Twitter did. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's literally, threads. You're creating threads of conversation.
Yeah.
And actually, we will be using that to help with future episodes. So if you want to interject anything for an episode, keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Comment, give your input, whatever.
Yeah, perfect. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's pod, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.